I grew up in Armory Park around the corner, and when I was a kid, I'd come down here and just kick cans and spray paint stuff. I never thought that there would be water or life down here, because when I was walking through, it was just kind of a desolate, dry wash. And so when the Heritage Project started back in 2019 and effluent water was released back into the Santa Cruz, immediately I noticed green. Once the water reached this area down under the Cushing Street Bridge, I was like, well, what happens if it keeps getting greener? And it did. It just kept getting greener every day. More and more animals. I would see tracks of raccoons and tracks of javelina, more and more birds that I hadn't seen on the river before. But then I was also noticing more and more tamarisk and bufflegrass and trash that was dumping in. And so I started making the point to come down every Sunday and just spend the morning removing waste, taking out invasives, and chatting to folks that were on the river. Over time, folks just started asking questions and asking if they could come help out, and now we have like a rotating crew of between 15 and 20 folks that just love Tucson and want to see the Santa Cruz flourish.
Both sides of my family, we've been in this region of what's politically known as the U.S. and northern Mexico for generations, right? And I was born and raised here. I was actually further up north, about First and Roger. And I would make my mom like come drive me downtown because I loved it. It's like going back in time, seeing all the exposed brick, and they used to have the old streetcar running and things. And I remember like looking down in this area, and it was just filled with trash, like the water wasn't running. And this is the most lush that I've ever seen it. Brings me a lot of joy, just seeing how revitalized it is, like how green it's becoming, and being able to do this work too, like it just adds to that. I'll sleep good tonight.
Ooh, these are cool birds. These are shorebirds, so like they call it killdeer.
You see these little fibery hairs right at the joints between the leaves and the stem?
That's how you know for sure that's problematic. Once bufflegrass commandeers an area, it is almost impossible for native plants to squeeze their way through. It's important to acknowledge too that bufflegrass isn't the only invasive plant that we're threatened with down here in the southern Arizona borderlands. We have tamarisk, there's also stinknet and Russian thistle, aka tumbleweed. We see all those plants in the river. They drain and they cover ground and they take up habitat that could be used by native species, like nurse trees that eventually could provide habitat for more animals and more native plants. Those things are all snuffed out by these invasive plant species. Yeah, once that's scooped up, we can toss it in the bin. Then this is native seed mix. So it's got grasses and wildflowers, mainly grasses. By replenishing the seed bank, hopefully we're not just removing bufflegrass, but we're actually stitching this a little bit more. So it's not just a Band-Aid, but we're actually getting a little deeper regenerative healing taking place. There's so much to learn when these plants come back of what it actually means to have a healthy riparian area in an urban ecosystem. Get in here and step down on all the buffle. There's historic accounts in the early 20th century recording the Santa Cruz as just one of the most biodiverse areas they'd ever seen, with these huge mesquite bosques, cottonwoods lining the river, these 70-foot tall trees with rustling leaves. And that's something that I could never imagine having grown up along the river. And so this reconciliation work is not to restore this river to what it once was, because it most likely never will be. There's now a million some odd folks in the greater Tucson area that are going to make the water table a little upset. Dump that bucket upside down. But what we can do is we can restore connection to this canvas for life. Big coyotes booking it across.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, beautiful.
you're building a network not only in your immediate community but across the world. So that's a concept for me that I call the joy angels, right? And it's not one size fits all, but if you're doing work kind of like this, I don't know, you just feel closer, right? You don't feel so alone. You don't feel so alone in the battle, and you're like, hey, I'm making a difference.
Beautiful.
This looks great, man. Absolutely killing it.
Nice dismount too. That's 10 for 10 on the style points, bro. Reconciliation is a phrase I use because in this process of learning and removing invasive species and forming connection with each other and the river and the non-human stakeholders like the vermilion flycatcher and the coyote that we keep seeing, we gain a deeper understanding and sense of place. We can't ever make it perfect. There's no such thing, I don't think. But what we can do is be down here and making new memories and new experiences on the river and removing mistakes that have happened, and polar pop cups and Carl's Jr. bags and buffalo grass and tamarisk, and maybe one day this will be a place that is a little reminiscent of what it was for thousands and thousands of years.